What does she actually do to get so much wealth? Ooh, I envy her for real.
Nomvula pressed her eye to the gap in the torn curtain, and her jaw tightened as the words left her mouth in a bitter whisper. Outside, a white Range Rover rolled to a stop on the dusty street, its engine humming louder than anything Nomvula's own generatorless home had ever produced. The gate to the house next door creaked open, and out stepped Zanele, wrapped in white lace, a bride's glow on her face, servants rushing to hold flowers and fan her with palm leaves. Nomvula's fingers dug into the fabric of the curtain. Her neighbor was talking about the woman everyone in the township whispered about, the woman who seemed to pull money out of thin air, and that woman was Zanele. To understand why Nomvula's chest burned like this, you have to know who Zanele was before all the lace and Range Rovers. 10 years ago, Zanele was nobody special. She sold tomatoes from a wooden crate outside the taxi rank, rain or shine, her hands cracked from counting coins in the cold. She lost her mother young, raised her younger siblings alone, and slept on a mattress that sagged in the middle like a smile with no teeth. Nobody envied Zanele back then. They pitied her. Then something changed. Slowly at first, a new roof here, a better dress there, and then all at once a driver, a mansion, gates so tall the neighborhood children called them the Wall of Secrets. The township women started talking, and their talk was never kind. They said her money came too fast. They said money like that does not come from tomatoes and hard work alone. Nomvula knew that talk better than anyone, because Nomvula's own story ran in the opposite direction. She used to have a husband. His name was Sifo, and he left for Johannesburg 5 years ago promising work and remittances, and instead he sent silence. Nomvula was left with 3 children, a roof that leaked every time the sky so much as sneezed, and a small pot of oil she used every morning to fry fetcook by the roadside, praying for enough coins to buy tomorrow's flour. Every single day, Nomvula watched Zanele's world grow shinier while her own world grew thinner, and something in her chest twisted a little more each time. That night, unable to sleep with envy chewing at her insides, Nomvula wrapped a shawl around her shoulders and crept toward Zanele's tall gate. She told herself she only wanted to look, nothing more, but her feet carried her closer than looking required. Then she heard it, drumming, low and steady, rising from somewhere behind the mansion walls. Chanting followed, voices layered on top of each other, rhythmic and strange. And then a voice cut through the chanting that made every hair on Nomvula's arms stand up, a voice too deep, too strange, too much like nothing she had ever heard leave a human throat. Nomvula did not wait to hear more. She turned and ran, her bare feet slapping against the dirt road, her heart hammering so hard she thought the whole street might hear it. By the time she reached her own leaking roof, she was gasping, her back pressed against the door as if something might follow her home. Her hands trembled as she lit a candle, and in its small shaking light, she made a decision. Whatever Zanele was doing behind those gates at night, Nomvula was going to find out, no matter what it cost her. Sleep refused to come easy after that night, so Nomvula did the only thing that made sense to her burning mind. She started watching. Every evening, once her children were asleep on the thin mat they shared, she wrapped her shawl tight and slipped out to crouch behind the rubbish bins near Zanele's gate. She watched cars come and go, watched the gardener trim hedges that cost more than her whole house, watched Zanele's shadow move behind curtains lit gold with electricity Nomvula could only dream of. Watching alone was not enough, though, so Nomvula found Thandika. Thandika worked inside the mansion, sweeping floors and washing dishes for a wage that still beat anything Nomvula made frying fetcook. One afternoon, Nomvula caught her at the market, pulled her aside near the fruit stalls, and pressed 2 crumpled notes into her palm. "Just tell me what happens in that house at night. That is all I want, nothing more." Thandika's eyes darted around before she leaned in close. "You should stop asking questions like that. Some doors are better left closed. Ask me nothing more." But Nomvula was already too deep in her own fire to hear caution, and she pressed the woman again the following week with more money, more pleading, more desperation dripping from every word. Finally, Thandika cracked, glancing over her shoulder like the walls themselves might report her. Every full moon, she disappears into the hills, up where the old Sangoma lives, the one they call Gogo Mavis, and she comes back before sunrise looking like she has been crying for hours. The words hit Nomvula like a slap. A Sangoma. In the hills. Every full moon. Suddenly the drumming, the chanting, the strange voice all made sense in the worst possible way. The rumors in the township had been right all along. Zanele had made some kind of pact, traded something dark for all that glittering wealth. Nomvula's jealousy curdled into something sharper now, something that felt almost like righteousness, and that was far more dangerous. She could not keep it inside anymore. 2 days later, on a Sunday morning when half the street was walking to church and the other half was gossiping over fences, Nomvula marched straight up to Zanele's gate and banged on it with both fists. Zanele opened it herself, dressed simply for once, surprise flickering across her face. "Nomvula, is everything all right? You look like you have not slept. Do not act innocent with me. Everybody knows what you do up in those hills. Everybody knows about the Sangoma. You sold your soul for that Range Rover and those imported curtains." The street went quiet in that particular way that means everyone is listening even though nobody is looking directly at you. Curtains twitched. Footsteps slowed. Someone's church hat turned a fraction too obviously toward the gate. "You think Witchcraft bought this house. You think I do not see how you look at me, dripping with hate every time I pass. Well, the whole street can hear it now. So tell them what dark thing you did for all this money." Zanele did not raise her voice, did not flinch, did not even blink hard. She simply stood there and let Nomvula's accusations crash against her like waves against a rock that had weathered far worse storms. Then, quietly, she stepped aside from the gate. "Come inside, Nomvula. Since you want the truth so badly, I will give it to you myself, but you will not like where it starts." Something in Zanele's voice made the crowd's whispers die down completely, and even Nomvula, still trembling with anger, felt a strange chill crawl up her spine as she stepped through the gate she had spied on so many nights before. Inside, Zanele led her past the generators and imported furniture the whole township envied, straight to a small back room Nomvula had never seen from outside the walls. A single candle burned on a low table, surrounded by a child's tiny shoes, a faded photograph, and a small blanket folded with the kind of care you only give something you have lost. "This is where I go at night, not always to the hills, but here too. This is my son, Lindani. He would have been 10 years old this year, if he had lived past his first week." Nomvula's breath caught in her throat, her anger draining out of her all at once, replaced by something cold and heavy. "The chanting you heard, the drumming, that was his remembrance ceremony. The one night a year I allow the whole family to grieve him properly. And yes, I visit Gogo Mavis every full moon, but not for wealth, Nomvula, for peace, because some pain does not leave just because you tell it to." Nomvula stood frozen, her accusations turning to ash in her mouth, but even as shame flooded her chest, one question remained unanswered, hanging heavy in the candlelit room. If witchcraft was not the secret behind Zanele's wealth, then what was? The candle flickered between them, and Nomvula's eyes stayed fixed on the tiny shoes on the table, too ashamed now to look Zanele in the face. If it was not witchcraft, then where did all this come from? The cars, the generators, the gates so tall we call them the Wall of Secrets. Zanele let out a small, tired laugh, the kind that carries more history than humor. "You want to know the real secret? Fine, sit down, because it is not exciting. No goats were sacrificed, no voices were sold, just years of waking up before the sun." She told Nomvula everything then, starting from the tomato crate at the taxi rank, the mattress that sagged in the middle, the years of saving 5 rand here, 10 rand there, refusing to touch a single coin, no matter how badly her siblings begged for sweets. That small pile of savings became a tiny tuck shop selling airtime and bread, and the tuck shop, run with iron discipline, grew into a supply business stocking 3 other shops across the township. But the real engine was the stockful, 12 of us women, pooling money every month, taking turns to receive the full pot, and I used my turns to buy stock, not shoes, not parties, stock, over and over, until the business could stand on its own legs. Nomvula sat there, stunned, the picture rearranging itself completely in her mind. No pact, no Sangoma bargain, just a woman who had bled patience into every brick of that mansion while the township whispered lazy stories because the truth required too much effort to believe. Shame rose hot in Nomvula's throat, and before she could stop herself, tears spilled down her cheeks. "I am so sorry, Zanele. I humiliated you in front of the whole street. I called you a witch to your own face. And all this time you were just grieving your son and working harder than any of us. I do not deserve your kindness right now." Zanele reached across the table and placed a hand over Nomvula's trembling fingers. "You do not need to deserve it, Nomvula. Jealousy makes fools of people who are really just tired and hungry for a better life. I do not hold it against you, but I am going to help you, whether you apologize 100 times or not." And Zanele meant it. Over the following weeks, she pulled Nomvula into the stockful, taught her how the pooled savings worked, how to resist spending a payout on anything but growth, how to track every coin like it owed her an explanation. She helped Nomvula scale her fet cook from a lonely roadside pot into proper packaged batches, sold not just to hungry schoolchildren, but to 3 local spaza shops that placed standing weekly orders. Nomvula's hands, once cracked from counting coins in the cold, grew busy in a different way now, kneading dough before sunrise, laughing with Zanele over shared pots of tea, comparing notes on which shopkeeper paid on time and which one needed a firmer reminder. Months passed, and the leaking roof over Nomvula's home finally got patched, then eventually replaced entirely. Her 3 children, once hungry and anxious, now walked to school every morning in proper uniforms, backpacks bouncing, bellies full. Her own small house stood modest but sturdy, nothing like Zanele's mansion, but hers earned brick by brick with her own 2 hands. One evening, as the sun dipped low and gold over the township, Nomvula found herself standing outside that same tall gate where jealousy had once made her scream accusations at the whole street. This time, Zanele stood beside her, both women leaning against the gate, sharing a joke about the gardener's terrible taste in music, laughter spilling easily between them. The wall of secrets, as the children used to call it, was not a secret anymore, and the woman who once envied everything behind it now called the woman inside her friend. The end.